our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, 8 months after leading the Tennessee Volunteers to the college football playoff and just days before the season opener, Josh Heupel gets an extension to stay in Knoxville through the 2030 season. As you see, no salary increase. However, number one, it keeps him locked in and it keeps his buyout a whole lot more as well for those interested. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. It is a Wednesday game week, quickly approaching, not only for Tennessee, but the rest of the SEC. I am Gerhard Mathangani. Our partner in crime, Simone Eli, still out on assignment with our friends at Next Star Nation and doing some really fun, impactful stuff and stuff that we will be able to show you in the weeks and months to come. But as of right now, Patrick Walsh and myself holding down the fort here on a Wednesday. Patrick, to me, this extension for Josh Heupel, it seems to me that it is, number one, it's more protective than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he was already staying number one. I mean, obviously he had a nice deal, but this was more protective and to show him once again and to show recruits once again that this is the place to be.
It's like every 2 years he gets a contract extension. 2021 he got his first one.
That's
2023
right.
That one moved the salary up from $5 million to $9 million.
Right.
And now here in 2025, ahead of this season, he just gets one more year, moving it from 2029 to 2030.
Right.
So yeah, a little bit interesting. I mean, I think he is the guy for Tennessee.
Yeah.
They've been waiting for a long time, those Volunteer fans, for a guy to lead this program. And, you know, he's kind of brought them back up to where that program used to be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they had Philip Fulmer back in the day, and he obviously led them to a national championship. And when you think of Tennessee, I think of the old Tennessee when they had Peyton Manning. They were rolling. They were one of the top teams in the SEC. Then they fell on some rough times. They had, Derek Dooley, and the Lane Kiffin experiment did not work. And they had some good coaches. I mean, Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, is a good coach. They had Butch Jones, which I think is a good coach. He coaches right now at Arkansas State. But those experiments did not work. But it felt like Josh Heupel was the right guy at the right time. And you think about just the way this offseason went. He had to lose his quarterback in a highly publicized, highly reported, very public scandal. Might be too strong of a word, but I'm sure it had to be a
because I mean it really wasn't a scandal.
No, it wasn't.
It was just more so, hey, I want more money,
right.
And then parents start to get involved and try to advocate for their kids. But
right.
I mean, I think I've made mention of this before. It was one of those weird, like, college football quarterback trades where Joey Aguilar, he was going from App State to UCLA, and he was projected to be the number one quarterback there. And so now Nico goes over to UCLA, and in return you get Joey Aguilar. So definitely one of those weird trades in today's college landscape. I'm sure that won't be the last time we see that.
Not at all. So the former Oklahoma quarterback getting an extension to stay as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. We got a chance to catch up with Sam Rothman yesterday, and she's been on top of it and spectacular, not only with the decision to get a new quarterback, but also the handling of Boo Carter and all the changes on defense. So lots going on in the University of Tennessee just ahead of their big matchup against the Syracuse Orange. Here's what's on tap for today. We'll dive a little bit more into the Heupel extension. Also, the South Carolina Gamecocks getting ready to play Virginia Tech, another ACC versus SEC matchup. That game, another big one for the Beamer family. Of course, Frank Beamer, Shane's father, coached at Virginia Tech for a very long time. Bijan Robinson, a former Texas star, now in the NFL, with a little advice for the current Texas star in Arch Manning. And the former Alabama head coach, Nick Saban, also giving some sage words of wisdom to the current star quarterback there at Alabama, and Ty Simpson. I think it's really interesting, though. I mean, like, these guys are, kind of getting a nice little word of wisdom from those who have been in those shoes, like Bijan, and those who have coached in those shoes, like Nick Saban.
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. Week 1 is here.
Yeah.
You got guys learning new systems, new quarterbacks in place, like Ty Simpson and Arch Manning.
That's right.
Arch has been there and played a couple games last year, but no, it's that time of year where, you want to get all the advice you can get, but at the same time, you don't want to take in too much advice because you still want to be yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely in Arch's case, he's got a great support system around him with Eli, Archie, and Peyton. But I mean, Nick Saban reaching out to Ty Simpson, giving him some advice.
Well, I mean, that's great because, I mean, Coach Saban, of course, right now, he's in the media space, working with College Game Day, but his part-time job is almost like the coach emeritus there at Alabama. He still has an office there, still meets recruits there, and he's still, very much welcome on campus. I mean, as he should be and as he would be, but I think he is a little bit more hands-on than I think other former coaches would be. I mean, we talked about Frank Beamer just a moment ago, and I don't know how, how much of close contact he has with the Virginia Tech people. So it just shows, some goodwill that the greatest coach of all time is still there to help out guys like Ty Simpson. And keep in mind, he recruited Ty Simpson.
Yes.
When Simpson was being recruited as a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school, Nick Saban was the head coach at Alabama, so he already has, a nice, rapport with his family and a rapport with him as well.
Yeah, I mean, we talked yesterday on the show about these quarterbacks. I think we mentioned Cade Klubnik out of Clemson and Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU, a couple of unicorns where they stay at one school, they develop.
Right.
And I mean, Ty Simpson, he had every chance to, go
to get out of there,
to be like, no, I don't want to wait my turn. I want to get my opportunity now. I mean, you look at Julian Sayin, he kind of did that, and now look at him. He's got a chance to do some damage for Ohio State as they go for the back-to-back national titles. But, no, I think it's really cool that Simpson does get this second opportunity here to be the quarterback.
Exactly. We'll get you those words of wisdom in just a moment. We are always pleased to have great guests here on Southeast Sports Plus. We've had it since we started this show. We continue it right now. Pete Yannity out of our friends in Spartanburg will join us, and Holden Kruzmark out of Oklahoma City also joining us as well. Let's talk a little bit more about Josh Heupel and this contract. Once again, it comes days before their season opener against Syracuse. Coach talked about facing the Cuse on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of different personnel. All their shift trade motions, the communication is going to be important. I said it earlier, but tying all three levels of your defense together is going to be important in this. You got to be able to win one-on-one matchups with the way that they spread the field too. That's in your secondary, but that's also winning one-on-one matchups up front.
So, Coach, obviously getting ready for a really tough defense. We've made fun of the Syracuse rallying cry. That's what I want to call it. Winners get washed.
Winners get washed. Our good friend of the show and co-host, Simone Eli. She loves that one. If you're listening, Simone, I know you love Winners Get Washed.
Winners get washed, baby. Winners get washed. Fran Brown entering the second season there. What's your take just overall on the way that this Tennessee team will have to play on Saturday? Because in my opinion, we've heard this from Sam. We heard a little bit from Casey as well. This team will look different. Yes. But I don't think this team has to play any differently than it did last year. I think they already have the blueprint of what they could do as far as running the ball and relying on their quarterback at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember Syracuse being last year and what Sam said yesterday was it doesn't really look like the defense has improved that much.
Right.
I mean, Tennessee, you can go ahead and just throw the ball.
Yes.
Like all over the field. And that was a major problem for Syracuse last year. I mean, you look at the game against Miami with Cam Ward. He just lit that defense up like it was Swiss cheese. I mean, there was no stopping him. The only reason why Syracuse won, to be honest, was I think Xavier Restrepo fumbled a catch in like the middle of the field. But it was like he caught it, and then it was a quick fumble. And then it was called an interception because it didn't hit the ground, and then it became a pick six.
Right.
That's really, I think, where the game turned on its head. And it was just Kyle McCord just out gunslingered Cam Ward, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Syracuse is going to have to do again this year. They've got Steve Angeli coming over from Notre Dame, getting his first chance to start at a P4 program.
Right.
And he's going to be a lot like Kyle McCord. He's not going to use his legs that much. Kyle McCord, I mean, if he threw the ball 50-plus times a game, there's a reason why I believe he was the passing yards leader last year.
Yes.
Because he threw the ball 50 times a game. But that's not to diss on Syracuse run game because, I mean, they had LaQuint Allen Jr. He's gone now.
That's true.
But who's going to step up for them? Right. I mean, the Syracuse run game, that used to be a strong suit for them. Just a few years ago when Garrett Schrader was there, he was a big running guy. So I think what Tennessee needs to do is just get off on a hot start, go down the field, score a touchdown, because that'll really settle the nerves for Joey Aguilar. I'm sure there's going to be because I highly doubt he has ever played a football game at this stage.
Right.
I mean, coming from App State, and then now this game being at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see him ever having played like this
No,
before.
and I know that the atmosphere in Boone, North Carolina is electric, and it's as close to what you would think a rabid audience would be like in the SEC, except as, of course, the numbers are way down when it comes to teams out of the Sun Belt. You brought up Steve Angeli, and I wanted to be precise on his yards because I remember he played in a few games last year. He was the backup, of course, at Notre Dame.
I believe he got in that
in the Penn State game.
That's
right, in the Penn State game. But I did not know in the Penn State game how well he played. He was 6 for 7, only 44 yards, but 85% completion. His longest pass earlier in the season was 42 yards. I mean, he can get the ball out of there. Had a quarterback rating of 135 in that matchup. He took 2 sacks. He took 1 sack for minus 12 yards. But this is a guy he's at least played in a high
octane kind of
correct environment, so to speak.
Yeah. High pressure.
Right. But and so to me, yes, it is different when the defensive coordinator is game planning for you specifically. But to me, Steve Angeli, he might come in as far as when you just compare quarterbacks and their backgrounds. I think Steve Angeli might come out a little bit ahead, in my opinion, of Joey Aguilar, despite what Joey Aguilar did on the field as far as just his overall production there at App State.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Angeli is a great replacement for Kyle McCord. I also thought that the projected spring winner, Ricky Collins, coming over from LSU fans know about him. I thought he would have been a great replacement too. But no, I think the fact that he has some experience, albeit very little, but he has experience in a college football playoff game against Penn State, and he did well in that game. That's got to do wonders for your confidence.
Absolutely.
And I know nowadays when players leave programs and transfer, I feel like coaches are a little bit bitter that these players left. Marcus Freeman was very supportive of Steve Angeli going out and finding a new opportunity. I know he publicly said how he wished that Angeli got a chance to shine at Notre Dame. Obviously, now I believe who's their quarterback now? C.J. Carr.
Yeah.
C.J. Carr. He won the job. But I really like Angeli coming to Syracuse. Obviously following Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
Now you have Steve Angeli, but I mean Joey Aguilar. Honestly, I'm gonna make a bold prediction here.
Okay,
I think
like it.
2 300+ yard quarterbacks in that game.
In the game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, so the ball will be moving up and down the field.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I don't care if Tennessee fans try to tell me that your defense is elite. I mean, if Tennessee has an elite defense, then by all means, there is zero reason why they should miss the college football playoff. I'm just going to be brutally honest.
Yeah, I'm going to find out what the over-under is. And I know just because the ball moves up and down the field doesn't always mean they're going to score. Right now, it's sitting at 50.5. You think it goes over?
Yeah.
You think it goes over?
I think it's a I want to say it's 38-31. I want to say that's the final.
38-31.
Yes.
Okay.
I've said it all week. Syracuse is going to cover.
Right.
Like it. I think that 13.5 point spread is ridiculous. In my honest opinion, I think that is a little bit.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's high. It's high. But here's the thing though, Patrick. I really can see this game playing out. 6 points, 10 points, and then Tennessee just covering on the back door. A late touchdown.
Okay,
James Franklin,
I could see that.
James Franklin does this all the time. Right?
Oh, I know, because this is what he used to do against West Virginia.
100%. Where if there's a chance, if he's still winning the game, but there's a chance to cover on a touchdown instead of kick a field goal.
Oh, he's
touchdown every time.
Touchdown every time. That dude's looking for parlays. That's for sure.
I think he knows that every alum has made a bet, and so he's like, you know what? Let's help my team cover. Let's help my guys. Let's help my guys up there win a couple dollars. So no, the only thing that would give me pause about Syracuse is just the backdoor cover. It's just that is the only thing that would surprise me. But I'm with you. I can see a lot of movement up and down the field. Speaking of best bets, we got some best bets here today coming up a little bit later on in our show. We have best bets from the Ohio State Texas game. Of course, lots of people interested in that one, but the spread, the over-under, got some prop bets as well. Some things to dive into. We're also talking Clemson and South Carolina from our good friends over in Spartanburg. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus. Stay with us. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus here. It is Hump Day. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for week one of the college football season. Patrick, it'll be here. It'll be here before we know it. Almost here.
We got games starting tomorrow.
That's right. From tomorrow all the way through Monday. Some big games all across the college football landscape. Here to help break us down, we have Pete Yannity, sports director over there at WSPA in Spartanburg. If you've seen that set before, it's because our friends in Spartanburg, they have been really, really good to us here at the Southeast Sports Plus and our good friends here in Mobile, Alabama. First of all, Pete, let's just talk this week overall, what this brings. I feel like every single year there's a certain magic that comes with just covering sports, covering high school and college just ahead of a big college football season.
And where we are, guys, you can probably appreciate it because you have Alabama, Auburn in that state. And right here, it's pretty much 50-50, Clemson and South Carolina, although the fan base from South Carolina, because we're in the neck of the woods where Clemson is, tends to think that all the TV stations lean more orange than garnet. I can assure you we don't. But it has it goes in cycles. So both teams are expecting to be really good. They're top 15 in the preseason polls. Folks are mentioning the national championship word in the same sentence with Clemson again. The South Carolina fan base has every expectation to believe they could be one of the 12 that makes the playoff, and who knows with the talent they've got back. But it just seems like, as opposed to some of the years, and I've covered these schools over the years when, there are a lot of question marks and so forth. And to be honest with you, in the last decade, that's not necessarily been the case for Clemson, but there are years where it's like, okay, the regular season's here.
Right.
This year, for both of these teams, it has seemed like the days have been weeks, just finally getting the opening weekend. And of course, Clemson doesn't open up until one of the last games on that Saturday in prime time for obvious reasons. And then South Carolina waits till Sunday, so they've got to wait nearly 24 hours later. But it has been quite the build-up, a lot of hype. You've got Clemson fans over the past couple of weeks saying that, now, wait a minute, they're talking too good about us. No, this isn't good. We want to run from this. Yes. And the South Carolina fans are kind of saying, hey, a little bit more love. Yeah, we're 13th in AP, but, we should have been in the top 10, especially since the rivals in the upstate are number 4.
Right. And that's such, a well, in my opinion, well-structured argument, because both teams, in my opinion, they're not doing the seesaw game. They're doing the game where both teams are coming off of very good seasons last year and have very strong arguments going into this season. Let's start with South Carolina. We have talked a lot about this football team, had a strong close to the season last year. Got a win over the aforementioned Clemson Tigers late in the year. I know they fell short a little bit there in the bowl game, but as Shane Beamer puts together this next group here for the 2025 season, what's your overall take of the way fall camp has gone and just carrying over that momentum from the end of last year into this season?
Well, as Beamer said in his news conference ahead of the opener against Virginia Tech, they have full health. Everybody who should be healthy is ready to go. And that's the one thing you always want to come out of camp with, because too many times they've had a key injury here or there. That guy we were just showing on the screen wearing number 1, that's been the big story of the week, and really kind of the underlying story throughout preseason camp. Rysal Faison getting ready for a 7th year of college football. He's going to be number 1 on your scorecard. They hope he's number 1 on the rushing charts. They really hit a home run with an Arkansas transfer last year, and boy, they couldn't have asked any more out of Rocket Sanders. Came in and stabilized their running game. Well, Faison played at Utah State most recently, was really good in the Mountain West Conference, all-conference performer, had better than 1,100 yards rushing, and he could be that one piece that they need to fill in the blank, because they feel like they're really good in the wide receiver room. They've got some other guys at running back they can count on, but getting the word on Monday that the NCAA had cleared Faison to play in games, it had been an extended wait since he arrived back in the spring in the portal, that was gigantic. And I mean, you would figure, I made the comparison in the different shows that I do, that last Friday, a 5-star offensive lineman out of Richmond, Virginia, a kid named Darius Gray, he committed to Shane Beamer's program, and that was huge. And Beamer went out on social media and proclaimed it as, cryptically as he is allowed to do. And that was big. It was just the 3rd 5-star that he's been able to land, but 3 in the last 5 years with a receiver and one of their current defensive ends as well. But I would say getting the news about Faison, at least in a micro sense for the short term, is as big as getting the commitment they got Friday, because that now they got a home run hitter in the backfield they know they can count on. And again, a veteran who's right around age 25, so an experienced guy who should not let all the noise of 70,000 plus fans every time he steps on the field get to him.
Yes. And that's what I was gonna. That kind of leads me into my next question that I was gonna ask. Obviously, everyone knows about Lenora Sellers now. There's no hiding him this year. How big of an impact now does getting Faison in that backfield to kind of have that like 1-2 punch?
It's huge because, again, Sanders was such a good compliment last year, and they expect Faison, who doesn't look like physically he's as big. He's not that much smaller than Sanders, but I think it's gigantic. I think for Lenora Sellers, there's a lot of improvisation in his running game, and it worked to a T. And he's the reason they rallied to beat Clemson 17-14 in Death Valley last year. Had some huge plays on the ground. Clemson had South Carolina figured out for 2/3 of that game, but then Sellers simply took over. But you have to have a beta to go with the alpha out of the backfield, so they'll have that. As for Sellers, he's a very cerebral player. He has been since he arrived in the program. He got to watch Spencer Rattler in Rattler's final season as a starter. Then last year, Sellers took the reins. There were times some turnover issues, and if you watched him play last year, you could tell that he didn't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
He kind of, as the year progressed, but even out of the close bowl loss against Illinois, you could still see, he just kind of needs to age more like a fine wine. And by that, I mean, get a better sense, watch more film, kind of get a better sense of being able to make a read where it becomes even more second nature, and frankly, do a little bit better job protecting the football. And so those have been some of the things he's talked about in the offseason that he's really worked on.
No question. South Carolina has a very, very interesting season opener against Virginia Tech. We'll get Pete's thoughts in just a moment, but we heard from Shane Beamer about preparing for the big one against the Hokies.
I think it's a fine balance of you don't want to be just so much Virginia Tech for 2 straight weeks where they're just overloaded and mentally fatigued of Virginia Tech talk going into the first game. So we introduced it today like we would on a normal Tuesday, and we did some preparation for Virginia Tech out there at practice, but it'll be just a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, a little bit Thursday, and then really full board next week. And this week gives us an opportunity to kind of look at some things that we may like, offense, defense, special teams, and then tweak and adjust. If we don't like it, take it out, all that stuff. It's very similar for us to an off week during the season, where typically we'll practice, 3 days a week. Of the week that we're not playing, that week is about getting us better, but also introducing the next opponent, and that's what today was, and tomorrow and Thursday. So introducing Virginia Tech, giving them a good understanding of Virginia Tech going into the weekend, and it probably is more beneficial now than ever, just because there's so much unknown about Virginia Tech, because you've got coordinators that weren't there last year. Not only were they not there last year, they were not even in college football last year. So there's a lot of, there's a heavy volume of tape that you can watch from different places, and giving our guys a solid understanding of here's what we think, but we got to be ready for this, we got to be ready for that, and so on.
So that was Coach Beamer earlier in fall camp. And Coach, I think he has a kind of a strange dichotomy that a lot of coaches have, especially when you're preparing for a team that's playing a Power 4 school in the early parts of the season. As this team gets ready for Virginia Tech, what are your insights about what the Virginia Tech team is and the way that they'll handle this game from a couple of different standpoints? I want to know your thoughts on the field and off the field, because obviously the name Beamer is very, very synonymous there in Blacksburg.
To the off the field point, he really has tried to downplay it, going all the way back to the SEC media days, and then through South Carolina's media day in the preseason, about the fact that he's facing his alma mater and Virginia Tech. And it's not just his alma mater, but of course it's a school that the Beamer name is regal because of all that his dad achieved there from the mid 80s all the way into last decade. So he's tried to downplay that whole part of it. I think it's a very good early season test for both teams. Brent Pry would probably love to come to war with a guy named Bashal Tutin to hand the ball off to. Well, he's moved on to the NFL. So I think that that's a real question mark for the Hokies, because that was a big part of any success they had last year. For South Carolina going into this game, you're going to face a Hokies team that last year at times, they had a miss or two defensively. I really think that we talk about Brysall Faison being now eligible for USC to complement Lenora Sellers, that two-headed monster running game. I think two key players are Nick Harbor, a wide receiver, guy you could say was the fastest man in college football after his great career in track and field. He's actually given up the track and field part. He's no longer with South Carolina's team as a sprinter. He's just all focused on football. But he's someone who shows flashes, caught just under 30 passes a year ago. And I really think that he's got to become that breakout, that drawing double coverage target all the time. Right. He's got to become the next star receiver at South Carolina. That goes back even before the days of the recent Pro Football Hall of Famer Sterling Sharp. And then I think a guy named Jared Brown is vital. A year ago when Brown was healthy and on the field, he kind of became that safe target for Sellers. You could throw underneath, you could throw deep. He made a really nice catch in the LSU game in the opening half of that I remember particularly. But I really think, talking about this matchup, Virginia Tech's got to figure out a way to not let Nick Harbor get behind them. But if Jared Brown's healthy, he is as valuable a receiver to the South Carolina offense, I think, as anyone else they have.
No question. Pete, we will keep you a man of your word. talk South Carolina and you talk Clemson. And so let's flip over to the Clemson Tigers there. Obviously, they're getting ready for one of the most highly anticipated games in all of college football, the Battle of Death Valley, so to speak. They're going over there to the one at the Rock. As Clemson prepares for this matchup, and as Dabo Swinney prepares for this matchup, I think you said it beautifully off the top that national championship and Clemson are starting to walk hand in hand. Cade Klubnik and best quarterback in the country are starting to walk together hand in hand, despite all some of the other quarterbacks that are around the country. As Clemson gets ready for this matchup against LSU, what are some of the front page storylines for this Clemson team, not only as they prepare for LSU, but also for the season ahead with high hopes?
Clemson offense, can Adam Randall, converted wide receiver, who just like the guy I just mentioned at South Carolina, Nick Harbor, was number 8, can he be a factor in the running game? They moved him over there in the game against Texas in the playoff, and as it turns out, well, they're certainly hoping that they can count on him big time to get him a big part of the ground attack. It had been handled by Phil Maffa, Will Shipley. I thought Maffa was the best running back they'd had of those two in recent seasons, but I really think the key is Adam Randall stepping up. For that guy right there, Cade Klubnik, who you talk about doing a 180 from season to season. In 2023, they were a 500 team. In late October, he had just lost a game against Miami, which he tried to force the issue late. And then last year, he was an efficient machine, close to 4,000 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions, big story. And most importantly, a guy that maybe doesn't get the credit that a lot of quarterbacks do, could run the football as well as anyone they had coming out of the backfield. So he needs a beta, and Adam Randall's going to have to be that guy. Although they do have a guy named Gideon Davidson, a true freshman out of Lynchburg, Virginia. And to show you how smart I am, I'm talking all about Randall here. 2 weeks from now, Gideon Davidson could be RB1 and could remind a lot of folks of Travis Etienne, who arrived on the scene in 2017, and out of nowhere, this kid from Louisiana who looked like he might still be in junior high physically, but boy, he was something. And Davidson is getting that kind of talk in terms of his acclaim. So I think those are the headlines on the offensive side. Defensively, you've got a new coordinator in Tom Allen, and whoever followed Brent Venables when he left in 21, it was going to be a tough act. And they gave it to a guy who was kind of his savant, who had never played college football and had never been a position assistant. And suffice it to say, it just didn't work out with him being a coordinator, and the players respected him. But I just don't know that not having the acumen of having played and having run a defense on any level before, that was a drive that Dabo Swinney probably hit into the woods. So they brought in Tom Allen, an experienced coordinator, was part of a Penn State program. You know what they were able to achieve, and now he's here at Clemson. Way out of his element. He's been kind of more of an upper Midwest guy, but Wes Goodwin was just somebody who just from the start didn't look like he fit the bill. Tom Allen was a guy who may as well have come barging through the doors like he was entering a Western saloon thirsty, and he has certainly gotten their attention, and he will bring very much an aggressive style. You give me guys like DeMonte Capehart, Peter Woods in the middle of your defensive line, TJ Parker, and a newcomer named Will Helt and some others. You give me that defensive line to start out, and I'm thinking about the Christian Wilkins era. 2 pretty good linebackers, Wade Woodaz, and also a really good guy who was a freshman who could become just a true star this year in Sammy Brown. Now, they did lose Barrett Carter, and he had nearly 90 tackles a year ago, and he'd been one of those really consistent performers for him at linebacker. Secondary, they've got a guy named Avion Terrell, and his brother, less than a decade ago during the championship era, was fabulous. First-round pick of the Falcons, still there. He's at one corner. They've got a former 5-star named Jaden Lucas, and he looks the part. He's just, for either injury reasons or whatever, he's never put together a great season. He's had some really great plays, had a big interception in an ACC title game, but he's just never really had that 5-star look as a player, if he can get it done. And then they've got a really interesting safety in Khalil Barnes, who's the kind of guy they could walk to the line of scrimmage, where they could also put up top to cover. So those just kind of hitting some of the bullet points. Now, how do you start a season and face an elite quarterback, just like you did last year against Georgia? But, Garrett Nussmeier is every bit as good as the guy you've got in Cade Klubnik. And they had real good work in the portal, best portal class, 18 newcomers, a linebacker who may be as good as anyone in the nation who comes back off injury after just playing a few games last year. So LSU is one tough customer, and I have no feel for this game. I truly don't. I don't know if Clemson's going to come out, great guns, take it right down the field and kind of control it. I don't know if LSU is going to quiet the crowd in a hurry. I truly have no feel going into this game.
Yeah, we did hear from Dabo Sweeney talking about the matchup against LSU. Let's take a listen.
Coach Kelly is, his track record is, easy to look up. He's got a long track record of winning for a long time. So you don't get lucky and have jobs like LSU. He's a great coach, and has his team really well positioned to have a great year. This is a very talented football team on both sides of the ball. Similar to us in a lot of ways. In that they've got elite quarterback play, elite skill, and they got dudes in the trenches on both sides. So it's a very similar team as far as just the makeup.
Coach, what do you think about LSU, Coach Kelly kind of heightening the emphasis on the opener as opposed to other big openers that they've had in recent years, putting the Tiger Paw up in their weight room?
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts either way. Everybody, I can't put myself in his team room, locker room. Everybody has their, own way as far as what you got to do in whatever moment, whatever team that you're coaching at that particular time. He's done it a long time, so whatever he wants to do, I'll leave it up to him.
Pete, I got to ask, what are your thoughts on this paw print controversy here?
I'm always amazed at, what gets legs. A side theme all during camp has been who the punter is going to be, and he's now turned it into a running joke with one of the beat writers. And I don't know if you guys had heard this. You probably did, and I know it's happened at a lot of other schools. Clemson didn't put a depth chart out, as they have consistently done over the years, because LSU didn't put a depth chart out. So
tip for tat right there.
In all honesty, I've been doing this thing for a little while. I begin to hate the month of August right around August 15th. the college football portion of that. The rest of the month I love. It's summertime. It's wonderful and all that. But I cannot wait till we actually start playing games and can talk about games, because once again, I'm an AP poll voter, okay? And I did my preseason AP poll. Well, you go on the data you have, right? You've got certain teams. Now you got to factor in the portal. But to me, a preseason poll, it's always laughable. And I always look at my preseason football magazines in October and see all the glorious projections. And we're hyping guys that, God forbid get hurt, or some guys just might not live up to it. But after the top 5 or 6 teams, I didn't know who to put in my top 25 that would be legit.
Right.
And what I actually did was I gave a pat on the back to some of the group of 5s, the teams that were picked to win their leagues, and put them lower because, Toledo can go into Kentucky this weekend and win. Kentucky's got a new quarterback,
Absolutely.
probably going to be really good, but who knows how it's going to work out. They stumbled last year, probably lost some games they should have won. Toledo's got they've got a fast secondary and whatever. What I'm saying is that, for all the side topics, for all the speculation, for all the hype, finally we get to spot the blank ball.
Yes.
And
Like Rich Rod.
I can project all you want. I'm so smart. Last year I had Florida State and Southern Cal in my top 7, I believe. That's how smart I am, just to give some perspective.
Speaking of confusion and just where to go, almost every year in the ACC, I just am kind of befuddled about what teams are actually good. I feel like with the ACC, the middle is just if the ACC was a burger, the buns are 15 huge, and the lower and the upper are kind of these small thin buns. I know Clemson. I can make pretty solid assurances that Clemson was going to be good this year. But how do you see this ACC stacking up this season and their path to being able to make a couple teams in the college football playoff if they can?
Miami was picked 2nd, and you got Carson Beck, and for all of his 12 interceptions last year, he did throw 28 touchdowns, 3,500 yards. They've got a couple receivers. Miami brought in a running back from North Dakota State, who I think is going to be really good, and I think that's going to be a guy you're talking about, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, where did he come from? Where in Dade County is he from?" But yeah, he came from a long way away from his previous stop. I really think that SMU, with Kevin Jennings coming back, they've got to replace Richard Smith, really good running back. They're still really good on defense, and they brought in UCLA's top rusher. They've got a freshman they love, and they've got a couple other guys who are holdovers, and I think they'll be able to replace their running game. But SMU is just kind of that steady driver who, for 59 minutes and 55 seconds last year in December, hadn't lost an ACC game until Clemson beat them on the field goal. And Georgia Tech, they've got the Hayneses out of the backfield, and their quarterback, Haynes King, is really good. He's got a really good running back to go along with him, with the Haynes in his name. So I really think that they've got an opportunity to be, once again, not too exciting. Their coach, you watch Brent Key in a news conference, and seems like a nice guy, but if you were making a hamburger, you'd probably make him the lower bun. Just nothing really exciting about that, just to keep the food theme going. I think that SMU and Georgia Tech will be the kind of ball clubs that you're like, they're not thrilling, but look at that. They're out of the gate 5-1 and very much in the hunt to get to the title game and maybe get to the playoff. Louisville, Jeff Brom, another new quarterback there, but they seem to have had success. Tyler Shuck was anyone heard about a year ago, and I think they'll jump up. I put them in my top 25 for that reason, because they figure it out offensively, and they've got some key pieces coming back with them as well. The wild card of it all, Florida State. You've got a desperate salesman there, Mike Norvell, and that's always the most dangerous. And he rebuilt his staff. Got beat by Boston College last year, so he showed them and went and got their quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, to come down to Tallahassee. And so I think Florida State will get it figured out. And let's face it, their opening game, those two head coaches, the guy who loses may not have his job by mid-October for various reasons. So I think Florida State is still the wild card. But yes, Duke, Illinois in week number 2, Illinois' top 25 team. I thought their quarterback was fine against South Carolina. They're going to have their typical, good running back, kind of wiggling hips and that kind of thing. They'll have a solid defense. They got a great head coach. But I think Duke could win that game because Duke's good enough. Another new quarterback, but Manny Diaz is a heck of a coach, and they returned some key guys defensively as well. So I think like a Duke's the kind of team that could be getting some talk. But to your point, I think it's maybe 4 teams that can start the season and say we got a chance to be one of the 12.
Right. And
of those 4 teams, we got a chance to be one of the 2 in Charlotte. And then Florida State's weird. Louisville's weird. NC State's in a very strange place right now. Virginia Tech, they could be more living in that neighborhood, but Brent Pry, they've had some holes to fill. I can't figure them out. Tony Elliott's one heck of a football coach. Virginia's the kind of place where others have won. Bronco won there. Obviously, George Walsh won there for many years. But that's, again, a program that's just a wild card. Pitt, they lost. They keep getting rated in the portal. There are just so many teams you just look down. I don't mean to list the whole league, but, it's just – so many teams that have a decent front yard, but with a little bit more fertilizer, might have a lawn of the month.
Pete, real quick before we let you go here, Ian Shefflin came over from the Clemson basketball team. There's a little bit of news about his reckless driving charge this week. I read somewhere that there's a potential for him to have a decent impact on the offense. Could you see him getting a pretty good amount of playing time this year?
Think about this. So without a uniform on for the past 4 years, as Lunch Pail, the player who brought his basketball skill along in his last 2 seasons with Brad Brownell, he was bumping and grinding against guys who were anywhere from 6'7", 250 up to 6'11".
Yep.
Yeah. Took some elbows. Again, no helmet, no face mask, no equipment. All right. He's positioning. He's boxing out. He's reaching up for, albeit a round, not an oblong object. Okay. He's got hands battling him, but those coming off arms that are just as big as opposed to a 5'10", 6', 6'2" linebacker, defensive back. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Great hands, nearly 10 rebounds a game the past couple of seasons. All ACC caliber player, figured out how to score. Had to reach up and grab that object, which, albeit round, was taking weird, funny bounces. Right. So really good hands. Getting popped, getting bumped, having things done to him that you probably couldn't tell in a fairy tale, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now he's got football equipment on. Now, at the point of attack, line of scrimmage, how good is he going to be as a blocker? I have no idea.
Right.
But I'd love to throw a 6'7", 260-pound guy a jump ball in the end zone and take my chances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throw it underneath, and if he runs ahead a few yards, I don't think there are going to be many situations, if and when he does see game action, that he's going to be in high-speed collision situations, because that can be something that's startling because you were close to the contact. When I see a basketball point guard, and the ACC is a physical league, any league you're in, you're going to have some physicality. But let's face it, a point guard or shooting guard is not going to go through the grind that a 4 in ACC basketball is going to go at. So I don't think any of the hard contact is going to be. And I've thought all along, and of course he had the misstep. He'll be out for the LSU game because of the legal matter that he did plea down from the original DUI charge down to a reckless driving, $600 fine, community service. Out for LSU, might not have gotten in that game. Back for Troy, if it goes the way Clemson hopes at home, might get some, work with a second team or third team offense. And then there's this to consider. Teams kick extra points, team kicks field goals, right?
Yeah, true.
Not bad having a 6'7" guy who's not a great leaper, but still long reach.
Right.
Jumping up over top of the center and trying to knock those down. That's another thing to consider.
He's got to reach out to Victor Locken about his blocking.
I think Victor Locken would love to be the best native of Russia in college football, yeah. But Victor Locken, that's the other thing. A Brad Brownell practice would take you back to the days of Bobby Knight, one of his heroes. And, it's not for the weak of heart when you're in a big man. And look at what Brownell has done developing P.J. Hall and so many before him. And Locken became a much better player at Clemson than he'd been at Cincinnati. So, and Ian Shefflin, again, Ian Shefflin is just one of those guys from a really good program just outside of Atlanta, might give you some rebounds, might give you 10 minutes a game. And he turned into a true star his last 2 seasons. And both he and P.J. Hall, that he and Locken were really good kind of twin towers in there. So I think it can work out in some way. Does it work out enough that an NFL team then comes to the pro day at Clemson and says, we'll bring him in off the street. I don't know if he could get his way into the 7 rounds, but see a kind of guy that an NFL team may take a flyer on. It's worked for some other guys.
Yep.
One of them just went into the Hall of Fame, had never played football before until he went to camp with the Chargers. And there was a guy many years ago, long before either your parents probably met, named Sam Clancy, big center at Pittsburgh, late 70s, went on to have a great career as a defensive lineman, primarily with Cleveland. And those are just a couple of examples from yesterday, and I'm not that old, but I do remember. And then most in the last 15 years in terms of Antonio Gates.
Absolutely. Amazing expertise there.
You.
Amazing expertise. Pete, you do a great job. Send our best to your team. And Pete and Todd and Mariah, they do a phenomenal job. And you have fun covering 2 really, really fun football games there in Spartanburg, as well as Clemson and South Carolina. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Been a real pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Pete Yanity out of WSPA, the sports director over there, and you could just tell he knows a lot of ball.
He knows ball,
and it goes back a really long ways, and he does a great job, and they do a great job covering both Clemson and South Carolina. And just as he said, both teams are chomping at the bit. Both fan bases are chomping at the bit, and for good reason this year.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back talking some more SEC action and some top 5. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. It is Hump Day here, getting ready for the week 1 of the college football season. Had a great chance to catch up with Pete Yanity and our crew over there in Spartanburg. Getting ready for 2 huge games there, Patrick.
Yeah, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, LSU, Clemson. I mean, it's just week 1.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a crazy 2 crazy matchups in week 1. I mean,
exactly.
The excitement is here.
It certainly is. And coming up next year on Southeast Sports Plus, a big deal as it relates to one of the power conferences and a new TV deal, which of course means a whole lot. We'll have that coming up next on Southeast Sports Plus. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus, closing up hour number 1 of our program. And I know we are a Southeast Sports located show as far as the centric, but the conferences are making big deals all across the country. Right now, Patrick, the Pac-12 is announcing a big deal with the CW.
Yeah, announcing a big deal that will allow for the media rights to be extended through 2020 or 2030 to the 31 season. The CW is going to broadcast 13 football games, and as we mentioned, the Pac-12, now the Pac-2 right now,
right?
But not for any more years after this year. They're moving to that 9-team as they try to rebuild going forward. But I think this is great. Obviously, here in Mobile, we are a CW affiliate, and so just looking at this, the Pac-12, I always like the conference because it allowed you to have these like late night games as you're like trying to go to bed on like a Saturday, or if you were just like hanging with your friends and it's like close to midnight if you're on the East Coast. I mean, you just throw a Pac-12 game on. But no, I really like that the conference, is starting to rebuild itself. This year I find it a little I personally find it interesting that the 2 teams will play each other twice in the season.
It's a home and home. Yeah.
Like
Oregon State and Washington State.
Our sports director, Simone Eli, has other thoughts on that, saying that it sounds a little bit too much like high school. But, hey, I like it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Oregon State and Washington State will play a home and home. And those 2 venues are really cool as well. The Washington State has a really good atmosphere. If you're unfamiliar, those are the 2 teams this year. But Boise State, Utah State, Colorado State, Fresno, San Diego State, as well as Gonzaga and Texas State are all joining the conference in years to come. And this media rights deal includes both football as well as basketball. So you think Gonzaga basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you think of all the, just the great conferences that we've seen out west that play basketball at a really high level. So great deal there for the CWs. They get ready for another big season. Once again, Pac-12 moving to 9 teams in 2026, which I do think will be really interesting as they move forward. And then will they now secure deals with teams out of the SEC moving forward for football, which could be really big for them as well as they go home and home as teams try to crystallize their future football schedules. Coming up in hour number 2 of Southeast Sports Plus, we'll do our top 5 and best bets for the big game in Columbus, Ohio, Texas, and Ohio State. Stay with us.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Happy Hump Day, and we are one day closer to the most anticipated game of the 2025 college football season. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh joining you. Patrick, this might be, and I think this is being billed as Texas-Ohio State, as the biggest opener ever, considering all the circumstances.
It's got to be up there.
Has to be. considering the circumstances, and number one being the fact that this is a rematch of last year's semifinal game, the winner of this game, which was Ohio State, of course, ended up going on to win the national championship. And then now you return the Heisman Trophy favorite. You also return a quarterback in Julian Sayin, who is now the starter at Ohio State, getting his first reps, but he was at an SEC school before as far as this, whenever he was being recruited. You add in all of these mixtures together, and I know Ohio State is not an SEC school, but there's so many small tie-ins to this conference that I find really interesting. You have Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs, yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Played at Alabama. You had Ryan Day, who actually played with Nick Saban at a golf event just a couple of months ago, and talked about just how much passion and tradition they have there at Ohio State. The pressure, in my opinion, almost resembles what SEC pressure does, with teams and coaches that are in this league. To me, this game doesn't get any bigger. And I think, this is a weird thing to say before the game, I think the game actually lives up to the crazy hype that we have, considering all that's happening off the field.
I think you're absolutely right. What's that meme? Absolute cinema? I have a feeling that this game is going to be exactly that.
Yeah.
The script writer's putting in overtime for this one. But no, I mean, this is easily one of the greatest matchups you'll ever find in a week one setting in college football. You've got Texas, obviously, a little bit butthurt about last season going out to Ohio State. Ohio State trying to repeat. We heard Urban Meyer talk about how hard it is to repeat earlier this week.
Right.
And, I mean, I'm going to give my opinion right now. It's before the season truly has started. I don't think Ohio State's going to repeat. It's so hard to repeat in any sport.
Yeah.
But, I mean, no, this is going to be a great matchup between two historic programs.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we've got our picks for the game.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
We'll get into it in a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're interested in a little wagering and or just for fun, we'll have those picks in just a heartbeat. But one of the guys that played for Texas, and he played for a really long time, had a very productive career. He's gone to the NFL. He's had an already productive career in his very young NFL career as well. Bijan Robinson.
Yes.
He was considered, coming out of Texas, in my opinion, one of the guys that was almost like he wasn't going to bust because his skill set just matched everything that you would need in the NFL. And he showed it in college week to week. So he knows about what it takes to win at Texas and the expectations that comes with being a star, and for Arch Manning, a star quarterback as well. He was obviously a running back, but he understands that role for this offense. And I heard Bijan's got some words of wisdom.
Yes, he does, for the good old Arch Manning. So here was Bijan's words of wisdom for Arch Manning. I think for him, it's really important to tune out everybody around him, tune out the stadium. I mean, that can go for anything.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and says, just focus on the field, on what he has to do, the coaching points, and the adjustments, everything. When he can focus on that and put his mindset on that, then everything else will take care of itself. I mean, these are great words of advice here.
Yeah, and I think that's for a good thing for life as well. Just focus on what's in front of you right now, and you'll be able to do that. Don't think about everything on the outside, especially when it comes to these season openers. There's so much talk leading up to it. There's just a lot of words, a lot of hot air leading up to it that you can almost make yourself go crazy with all the talk that goes into it. And I think those are wise words from Bijan Robinson to Arch Manning. And Arch seems to me, once again, I keep coming back to this. We've talked about this with Roger. We've talked about this with Noah as well. The fact that he just seems so even-keeled.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, he's done it for so long, it can't be an act. It's not an act. I feel like it's real. And I feel like Sark's message to his team has been real. Like, hey, we're going to keep the main thing as much as that annoys some people to hear just because it sounds like coach talk. It sounds to me like they're doing that exact same thing as well. So Bijan Robinson obviously saying the right things to his buddies. And what that reminded me of, what that quote reminded me of is, a lot of times in the NFL locker rooms, what ends up happening is the alums from one school, of course you'll have alums from every school, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Ohio State grads there in that Atlanta Falcons locker room. Sure, there's a couple of Texas guys, including Bijan Robinson. And so I'm pretty sure there's a nice little friendly wager there in the locker room amongst teammates as well. Sure. We've seen everything. We've seen, small dollar wagers. We've seen you had to wear that opposite team's shirt to practice
that's
the next
worst.
day.
Honestly, I don't care. The money, I mean, that's fine. But when you have to, see, I'm gonna use my own experience here. Being a West Virginia grad, if I ever had to wear the Pittsburgh jersey, the Pittsburgh Panther jersey, oh man, that would be that'd probably be the end of me.
Yeah, I've heard of crazy things. I think one of the most creative things that I've heard is that the loser had to learn the fight song of the other, and then that was kind of, and then sing it in the team meeting.
Oh no!
And sing it in the team meeting, which
so you have to learn. You have to learn the fight song, and you have to get public embarrassment in front of your teammates.
Right. And in this day and age, everybody's got a cell phone camera, so it's all going to be out there. And so I thought that was hilarious. And so I'm wanting to find out what's going on there in that Atlanta Falcons locker room to see if there's something similar going on there with Bijan Robinson and his teammates that played for for Ohio State University. We also got a chance to hear from Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian about this matchup and getting his team to get ready to go to a very hostile environment there in the shoe.
Pretty epic matchup when you think about, 1 versus 2 in at least one of the two major polls for the first game of the season is great for college football, in my opinion. As much as, I'm going to talk about the rankings don't matter, which I believe that, but I do think for college football, the fanfare, the excitement around this game, I think is great for our sport. And the fact that we have 3 top 10 matchups this weekend, I think is great for college football in general. But beyond the rankings, these are 2 really good teams. Ton of respect for Ohio State, ton of respect for Ryan Day and the job he's done. Obviously defending national champs. I think Coach Day is like 70-10 since he's taken over at Ohio State. And you think about the quality of players in this game. If you look at last year's game, 26 players got drafted off of the 2 teams in the NFL. You include free agents, 32 players that were playing in that game a year ago are now in the NFL. And the fact that both teams are coming back is 1 and 2 in the country, I think speaks volumes to the quality of programs that both of us have, quite frankly.
I think Coach laid it out there that this is essentially, I know it's a college football game, but it might as well be an NFL game.
Yeah.
Because, you had so many players that went to the NFL from last year and so many players on this year's team expected to be future stars in the NFL, which I think is unbelievable.
Yeah, you might as well just say this is a low-level NFL matchup.
Correct, yeah.
The stars across the field, but no, he said it's a pretty epic matchup. I thought that was pretty funny.
That is.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's used to it. No, he's used to it. 1 versus 2 and or 1 versus 3, depending on which poll you look at of the major polls. I do hate one thing about this game, Patrick.
What's that?
Just one.
What's that?
The kickoff time. I don't want this to be an 11 o'clock kickoff. Yeah. I just don't. It's the only beef that I have. When they say when you're sitting in paradise, don't complain. And this game is paradise, so I won't complain. But the only thing I don't like is the 11 o'clock kickoff. I wish it was either 2:30, 5, or prime time.
But let me pose this to you.
Yeah.
If it were later, what happens to the LSU Clemson matchup that night?
That one,
because you can't make a Death Valley matchup during the middle of the day.
You won't have it. No, I would much rather have Ohio State Clemson at 2:30 and the Death Valley game at night at 7 o'clock.
So maybe move the Alabama game to
right. Move
the noon Eastern slot.
Yes. Okay. I wouldn't be a bit upset if they moved the Alabama game. But obviously you're dealing with different networks and they're all competing, and so they don't care what time their games kick off because Fox knows they have the best games in the entire nation there with Texas and Ohio State. Let's get to our best bets here. You and I, we like to do a little wagering, both for entertainment and for a couple shekels here and there. I'll go with mine first. My best bet. So this is specific to the Texas-Ohio State game. I have 3 bets and then a bonus bet. All right, so
you threw the bonus.
I did. Okay, the over 47. This kind of walks hand in hand with what I was saying earlier about the Syracuse-Texas game. I think the offense starts slow, but they settle in the second half.
Okay.
I think that Ryan Day gets to Julian saying he settles down. I think Arch Manning gets a nice little talking to from Steve Sarkisian. He settles down as well, and the offense is to pick up in the second half. That's the reason why I think this number gets backdoored. So in the first half, if it's a 7-7 game, if you have an under ticket in your hand, I think you look good. But I do think that it goes over the 47.
Okay. I'll see it.
As far as a prop bet goes, Jeremiah Smith, the co-cover man, I should say, for EA Sports 2026, under 83.5 yards. 83.5 is the interesting number. It's just low enough to, I think, be a sucker bet.
Yeah.
And I think this Texas DB, this Texas secondary, led by Michael Taft, who we heard from earlier, walk on to All-American, I think that they double him all day long. They put a safety over the top the entire game. And I think Jeremiah Smith will be bracketed, and I think Texas says somebody else has to beat us.
Yes.
And Jeremiah Smith won't be able to do it. I do think Ohio State wins on the money line.
Wow.
You got to pay a little bit of a premium. Got to pay $1.22 in order to make that dollar. So, but I do think that Ohio State does win this game barely. My bonus bet: Arch Manning. One play of this game.
Here we go.
One play of this game. The Ohio State will break coverage. They'll lose the edges. He'll run for 30 to 40 yards. He'll slide. He'll get out of bounds. He'll cover the 27.5. But you have to cross your fingers he doesn't get sacked, because then that number can reverse, and then next thing you know, he's under.
You know, it almost seems like we have two completely different parlays going on.
Oh, wow.
Here.
Okay.
So let's jump into mine here. As I've mentioned pretty much all week, I'm going with the under here.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like these defenses are they're too strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care, again, if your name is Arch Manning or Julian Sand. I mean, you haven't faced defenses like these, and just with the inexperience, I just don't see them being able to light up any of these defenses.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go with Texas first quarter, -1.5.
Okay.
On the spread.
Yeah.
It's at +150, but, you know, I just have to go with the fact that Arch, you know, he has played a little bit more than Sand.
Right.
He has made a couple starts when Quinn Ewers was injured last year. I'm going to even go above and beyond. I like Texas to be leading 10-3 at the end of the first quarter.
10-3, okay.
Arch goes down. He gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then he, I think the first drive, Texas goes down. They score a touchdown to kind of set the tone. And then they come in and turn it over on downs. And then Sayan gets him into field goal range, 7-3 end of the first quarter. And then going with Texas money line. I mean, I'm going to bring it back to the Michigan game last year.
Yeah.
Where Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian and company just rolled into Ann Arbor. I don't care how bad Michigan was last year.
Yeah.
They weren't too bad at the end of the year, just seeing that they beat Ohio State.
Right.
And they ended up beating Alabama with their backups in. That was
true.
I mean, Alabama fans definitely want to forget about that one, but I mean, I seriously, I don't care how bad Michigan was. Sark has been here before, and he wants that revenge.
Yeah, he does. Those are some bold takes for a team that's going on the road in a hostile environment. I really like it. We'll see how it all plays out. Well, coming up next, we will check in with our friends over in Oklahoma City. We'll talk to Holden Kruzmark, good friend of our program here on Southeast Sports Plus. We'll talk about the Sooners as Brent Venables heads into another season, a very important season there in Norman. Stay with us. We are back with Southeast Sports Plus. It is a Wednesday just ahead of week 1 of the college football season. Got a little appetizer in week 0 and week 1 just ahead. Starts tomorrow, goes all the way through Monday.
All the way through Monday.
Yep, lots of SEC teams that are in the mix and playing. Huge seasons for a lot of teams, including the Oklahoma Sooners, who go into year 2 in the SEC. So happy to be joined once again by our buddy Holden Kruzmark out in Oklahoma City. And we just got a chance to talk off the air, Holden, about when you have two teams that are in obviously they're old rivals. They don't play anymore with Bedlam, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Just how much the anticipation is throughout the year. Got a chance to talk to Pete Hannity out of Spartanburg. He covers both South Carolina and Clemson, so they do a similar thing as it is for you guys. What's the fan base out there like for both squads as they get ready for a whole new year, and obviously different storylines going in with both the Cowboys and the Sooners?
Yeah, definitely different storylines, but also kind of the similar one in that, people are a little bit angry at the lack of success from last season.
Yeah, yes.
OSU a little less success than OU, considering they didn't win a conference game, but both fan bases are not exactly happy with how things turned out. I do think that people feel a little bit more confident in OU being able to turn around this season, just because you feel a little bit more of the talent. They didn't completely change over their coaching staff and roster and everything like OSU did. Mike Gundy's the only coach from last year's team that's still there.
Yeah.
And they brought in a whole new roster and everything like that. So there's one of the guys right there, Kendall Daniels. He actually transferred from OSU to OU. So that's an interesting name to watch this year for the Sooners, because he is a really good player. And I think he got a little bit lost in the transition. The last 2 years, OSU had brought in a new defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles was the defensive coordinator. They had really good defense. And then he left for Ohio State, and they brought in Derek Mason, who I think is now the Middle Tennessee head coach.
Right.
He was there for only a year. Then they tried to do the whole bring in a different system. Mike Gundy wanted to switch to a 3-3-5, so he brought in this guy, Brian Nardo, from the Division II ranks. And it didn't really pan out for them. So I think Kendall Daniels moved from safety to linebacker, and I think he just kind of got a little bit lost in all of that transition, the new defensive coordinators, moving positions and everything like that. But OU seems to, like, if he can pick up the Venables defense, which is the big if for anybody that's coming to OU, if you can pick up the Venables defense, Kendall Daniels could play a big role, especially considering that their linebacker core is a little bit depleted this year after you lose a guy like Danny Stutzman, and they didn't really go to the portal to bring in any linebackers, so it'll be kind of interesting to see there. He has a good chance of making some impact this year. And, of course, like we were talking about, this is a pivotal season for Brent, because it almost feels do or die. And,
Right.
If he has another 6-win season, heck, I would even say if they only win 7 games, he's going to be on the chopping block. And I guess it kind of depends on, which 7 games you win.
Right.
You get 3 essentially cupcakes in the non-conference. So that would be, you maybe beat a Michigan or whoever you beat and stuff like that. I think you got to win 8 games, and I think that would really calm a lot of people. I think 8 games is a good amount of games to win in the SEC. It's tough to win double digits, which is what OU fans have become accustomed to under the Bob Stoops and the Lincoln Riley eras. Winning 10, 11 games, going to the Big 12 championship, winning the Big 12 championship, and being in contention for a playoff spot. So people aren't really happy with 2 6-win seasons
Yeah.
and 3 years for Mr. Venables.
Holden, you talked a little bit about OSU, and I just remember watching Ollie Gordon in 2023, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to be a problem in 2024, and then it just didn't really pan out. But looking at the Oklahoma running back room, what can we expect out of the Sooners run game this year?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. The first depth chart was released recently, and you would have expected Jay not to be on top of that, but he was not, actually. It was Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock who were listed as kind of the starters there. That was mostly because Jay Knott spent most of the fall camp hurt, is he and some of the other guys just missed a lot of practice, and Javante Barnes and Torrey Blaylock were the two that were able to actually practice with them. So that's kind of why they ended up on top of the depth chart there heading into this week 1 game against Illinois State. Javante Barnes is an interesting guy. He's been here. There he is right there. Look at that timing. On your screen, Javante Barnes. He's kind of turned into a leader on the offense, considering they've had a lot of turnover, especially the skill players, with wide receiver being a big transition, and then you bring in a new quarterback and running backs and everything like that. Javante's been here for a while. He's been here throughout the Brent Venables tenure. He had a pretty good season the first year Venables was here, and then he kind of dealt with some injuries and everything, and that was one of the things that was we're almost kind of surprised that he stuck around, because that's not really what you see these days. You get a guy that maybe has a down year, or maybe OU's had kind of a stable of running backs that kind of switch between and stuff. So he's never really been like the guy. Normally in today's era, you see a guy like that just transfer to go find another opportunity. But he said he really likes, DeMarco Murray is the running backs coach here at OU, and he really likes DeMarco and getting to learn from him and everything. So that was kind of why he stuck around. And he's going to be a big piece, in theory, because he's so experienced at OU, and he's a veteran guy. Most of the other guys are kind of young. Xavier Robinson, he's just a true sophomore or redshirt freshman. I can't remember if he played in more than 4 games last year or not. It's hard to keep track of all these guys in the portal and red shirts and everything like that. But his second year at OU, Torrey Blaylock, who I mentioned, he's a true freshman. And Taylor Tatum last year, I think he only played in 4, maybe he played in more than that. Mm-hmm. So he's going into his second year. So you got a lot of inexperience, and Jaden Knott's the new guy. So Ott and Barnes are going to kind of be your keys there. They've experienced. They know what they're doing, and that'll kind of be the key to the running back room. I really expect Jaden Knott to kind of take this over as long as he stays healthy. But Barnes will be a good number 2, and they've got Robinson, who's kind of more of a power back, kind of a short distance goal line back, and Blaylock, I think he's a pretty good receiver, kind of a speed guy. So you've got a mix in that running back room. It's definitely not going to be an Ollie Gordon situation where you just keep handing the ball off to him, and that's kind of your whole running game. They'll mix some guys in, but I do think Jaden Knott will probably take over the bulk of the carries once they, probably even once they start playing Michigan. He'll probably be the leading ball carrier there. But Barnes and Blaylock and Robinson and Tatum all trying to be able to get into that mix will be important for them to try and take off some of that pressure for John Mateer and the receivers. And the big thing, though, will be whether this O-line can block for him, because that hasn't always been the case considering last year's struggles.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge, that's for sure. It's been a couple of weeks. We got a chance to catch up with Brian Brinkley, and it's been one of those where the John Mateer stuff, it was hot in the moment. It was all over the tickers of every college football show and every network. And I don't know about everybody else, but I just did an eye roll to the whole situation. I think that it's played out where everybody's kind of done similarly, the same thing. What was made of anything of that quote unquote scandal? I think that's too harsh of a word as well. And then how has John Mateer been since then, and some of the ways that he's gearing himself up for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, it would be an off season if you didn't have at least one thing come up.
For sure.
For a football team. It had been a little too quiet in the state between OU and OSU. There really hadn't been much going on. So that was, I guess, kind of a fun little thing because it wasn't really a thing. But, it made it to be a thing, and it was interesting for sure. I think Mateer has handled it all really well, according to, everybody that we've talked to, that, he kind of quickly moved on from the situation. They addressed it and moved on from it. He was just named a captain for the season. Mm-hmm. So I don't think anybody's really worried about that, and it doesn't seem to be much of a distraction, and they're ready to move on with Mateer as the quarterback heading into the season. And we actually heard from Illinois State, which the FCS team that they're playing this year, and it was kind of interesting the way they were talking about him, because, well, I mean, they're probably not going to play too many teams that have the talent level of OU, but they were really complimentary of John Mateer and acting like he's probably one of the best players in football, which personally I'd like to see it happen. But I guess it's kind of nice if you're an OU fan to hear that even their opponents are really respectful of what Mateer can do and bring to the table. But I will reserve judgment for that Michigan game and see how he does in there and where OU stands after that.
Cautious optimism. I kind of like it. And I think it's honestly the best way to handle it because you won't get much of a gauge there against Illinois State. New offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle, we talked a lot about him and his relationship with John Mateer. Also, he's got a good relationship with the head coach in Brent Venables. Holden, we'll get your thoughts after we hear from the OC.
I don't know if there's anyone in the building, probably in Norman, that questions how much Coach Venables cares, and he shows it with how he does everything every single day. He truly lives by the motto, "How you do anything is how you do everything," and he's always ready in every single moment. Every single moment is 4th and 1 to him. It's the most important thing every single day. And that feeds off into the coaches, and it feeds off into the players. And so that mindset that Coach Venables brings every single day, it sets a precedent and a standard for every situation that we could be in the meeting room, on the field, in our staff meetings, that what we're doing right now is the most important thing. And I personally think that's the only way to do it. I mean, you have to be in the moment in everything that you do, and Coach Venables exemplifies that in every aspect of his life.
So obviously Ben Arbuckle believes a lot in Brent Venables, and he had to know the situation that he's walking into with a coach that might not be there if they don't have a good season. And so I think it's a little, maybe an extra statement of confidence in himself to be able to help get it done. What have you seen with Coach Arbuckle and the way he's walking hand in hand with Coach Venables about the philosophy and what they want to implement with John Mateer and the offense as a whole going into the season?
Yeah, Venables may have found his perfect match for offensive coordinator in terms of a guy that brings energy and belief. It seems like Arbuckle has really kind of revamped the belief on the offensive side and really gotten a lot of these guys to buy in and really kind of celebrate those, small victories and have a little bit more fun with the game of football. And it's kind of refreshing to hear from him. We didn't get to hear much from the coordinators once Jeff Lebby left, and even kind of near the end of his tenure, we didn't get to hear too much from him. So it was refreshing to be able to hear from the offensive coordinator. And he seemed to be really candid and talk about a lot of this. And like you mentioned, it's a big year, and you got to have a lot of belief in a guy like Venables because, if he gets fired, they don't have a good season, then you're probably not going to be surviving that either. So you'd be looking for another job. But he is a Texas guy, a West Texas guy. We kind of joke a little bit that he sounds a little bit like Lincoln Riley, just a little bit. They're both West Texas guys. They kind of have that to them. If you listen, you kind of, maybe you're like, is that Lincoln or is that Ben Arbuckle? But no, those guys have that air raid and everything. They sound a little bit alike. They're from the same. So it's getting close to home for Arbuckle. That was kind of a nice thing for him. You got to go from Washington to Oklahoma. Now he's closer to home, family, and everything like that. So it was kind of a good pairing for the two of them. And everything we hear is just a lot of positivity. And John Mateer obviously believes in Arbuckle. That's why he left to come to OU, followed his guy. And those two guys just have a lot of belief in each other. You can just hear it when they talk about each other. And one thing that I thought was interesting is I asked, John about this, is did he see any difference in the way that Arbuckle coaches or anything like that, moving from Washington State to OU, that's, a bigger program, anything change about that? And he said, no, he's the same guy. And it's really cool to see that, he's managed to stay the same throughout all this. And, the fact that he's 29 years old. I'm older than Ben Arbuckle, which is kind of sad for me to realize now. I just turned 30 a couple months ago. So I am just slightly older than the OU offensive coordinator. So what am I doing with my life? I guess, what.
Hey, you're talking sports. No, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. There's worse things I could be doing with my life for sure. But no, I think that Ben Arbuckle really is breathing a lot of life into that side of the ball, which is just something that they lacked last year. And, Venables talked about it in his press conference the other day is, because Arbuckle really likes to celebrate those small victories, like I mentioned earlier. And Venables was like, yeah, we like to do that too, but it was impossible to do it last year because there just was nothing to celebrate offensively. So I think they're instilling a lot of belief. These guys, they feel confident heading into the year, and I think playing Illinois State should only grow their confidence. Unless they struggle a little bit, then obviously that's not gonna do too much for the confidence. But I think this could be a game where they build a lot of confidence and belief in each other going into Michigan. And then, if you beat Michigan, you look good in the Michigan game, then I think that's just really gonna send them on an upward trajectory as we head into SEC play and, that Red River rivalry matchup that really kind of kicks off a gauntlet of games for OU this season.
Absolutely. Okay, so in the SEC, I'll say this. In the SEC, there's a kind of like a general understood thing where, especially whether it's a bowl game or it's in the NCAA tournament, that the fans of SEC teams will just blindly just root for the SEC. Now, you can go in certain pockets, like Auburn fans. There's some Auburn fans that will never root for Alabama, no matter who they're playing against, even though they're in the SEC. I'm wondering what the Oklahoma Sooner fans are thinking ahead of this Ohio State game, because there's a lot of tie-ins, obviously, to the Texas Longhorns, but also those three programs are kind of some of the premier programs in the entire country. I could not see Oklahoma fans even softly rooting for Ohio State. I could not even see them softly rooting for Texas. How do you think that your common Oklahoma fan is even gauging this matchup, or do they just kick their feet up, wear their Sooner shirt, and just try to watch a good football game?
Yeah, probably a little bit more of that. They'd maybe watch a good football game. I don't see any OU fans rooting for Texas in this one.
Okay. I wanted that clarification.
I don't think the whole the SEC thing, that I don't think that applies to Texas. I don't think OU fans have quite bought into the whole the SEC mantra for that to overlook rooting for Texas. So I would expect most people to root for Ohio State kind of begrudgingly, just because, it's like, Ohio State did win the championship, and, kind of don't like them that much, but, whatever. It's against Texas, so I will not be rooting for Texas. That's kind of where I expect that to fall. But no, I got my welcome to the SEC moment last year, actually, covering the first OU road game in the SEC at Auburn. I was walking up to the stadium, and you got everybody tailgating and stuff, and OSU was playing a game, I think at 11 that day, and OU was in the afternoon. So walking up, I was like, I wonder if any of these tailgates have the OSU game on. And walking up, I was like, oh, yeah, we're in the SEC. Nobody here cares about OSU and who they're playing. It's, TVs that's on, it's like a Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, whatever. Right. They'd rather watch that game than OSU, Utah, or whoever it was.
Holden, while we're on the topic of fans here, there's a major OU super fan by the name of James Draws. Do you know who James Draws is?
I do recognize the name, yes.
So I have the biggest flex of them all. He follows me.
Oh, nice.
Whoa.
That's cool.
So wow. I just it just made me think of it while we're on the topic of, talking about fans.
Fandom and
everything. The official man of what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He should get that trademarked, honestly.
What happened?
Yeah, he'll be saying that this year if OU's not very good, because I think a lot of people will be saying, what happened? The Venables era has come to a close. And
yeah.
Well, I just remember he was a avid hater of Lincoln Riley. After
was he?
Left. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very animated when USC would lose.
I think the Lincoln Riley hatred has died down a little bit.
Yeah.
And Lincoln doesn't seem to really enjoy talking about OU too much. So I think that kind of helps it. The state doesn't really let go of grudges, though. People still hate Kevin Durant. Speaking of Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But part of that, I think, was because Kevin would still kind of go out of his way to diss OKC sometimes.
Right.
So he kind of kept bringing it up. I think Lincoln not really talking about it too much probably helps mend some of those wounds, whereas people here in Oklahoma City still do not like Kevin Durant. I know we've talked about the Thunder in the past. Kevin Durant's playing in OKC to open the season. His new Rockets, they're playing the Thunder. He gets to watch ring night, so that'll be an interesting one for sure to see how that
he might drop
goes.
50.
Yeah.
That might motivate him.
I was actually, now that you bring that up, it's actually such a great point. I mean, do you think the NBA did that on purpose to where that, hey, he's got to watch ring night in the city where he started his career? Or I know he started
when did they make
Seattle.
the schedules, though?
I don't know. They released it just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't intentional, it's the greatest accident that's ever happened.
No question. And the fact that he played it there at Texas, it makes it even more interesting there for the folks over there in Oklahoma City as they celebrate a national championship and hope to, and I know their opinion, they hope in the next 5-6 months they're celebrating their Sooners in the college football playoff. Still lots of football to play. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have seen people picking OU as kind of a dark horse playoff team, which is possible.
Yeah,
I
like John Mateer.
Yeah,
I'd like him.
If Mateer and that offense can, put together an average season, I think they could win at least 8 games.
Right.
That was kind of their problem last year, is it was so below average offensively that if they had an average offense last year with that defense, they probably win.
Yeah,
and 8 games, maybe 9.
Obviously, and obviously health has to be a big factor too, because last year it got decimated with that one wide receiver room. If the O-line can stay healthy, if Ott can stay healthy, I don't think it's crazy that Oklahoma's a dark horse college football playoff team. Well, if they do make the college football playoff, even if they don't, we will have a Holden on once more throughout the course of the season. Holden, I know it's been a very busy summer. I hope you got some rest, some relaxation, and we will talk again soon.
And I will be firing the pistols tomorrow, and then we'll be back in the Sooner Schooner land on Saturday.
Love it.
We're keeping busy here in Oklahoma City.
Love it. Guns up. And go Sooners there as they start the college football season. Thanks so much, Holden. Holden Cruzmark out of Oklahoma City, kind enough to join us once again here on Southeast Sports Plus. And I'll tell you what, if I wasn't here in Mobile, I think the next fun place of our Next Star family in the SEC footprint has to be Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to cover an NBA champion who has a player who played in the SEC.
Great sports.
And SGA. Great sports. A softball team. I know that Oklahoma didn't win it, but they made it all the way there. And the Women's College World Series is there as well. Then you have a football team with a lot of promise, a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator. It seems like that's the hub right now.
If you like weather. If you like severe weather, there's definitely not a shortage of it there.
Exactly. Great weather squad there as well. We actually had a couple interns that were from OU that were here in Mobile doing their internships. Obviously, great weather down here, crazy weather down here as well, as a lot of those meteorologists come here to find out. Coming up next on Southeast Sports Plus, we will talk top 5, another really interesting category Patrick Walsh has cooked up, cooked being the operative word. We have more next. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. It is a Wednesday, the eve of the week 1 of the college football season. We talked to Holden Kruzmark just a moment ago. He covers, of course, the Oklahoma Sooners, but also covers Oklahoma State, I should say, who actually get their season started tomorrow.
Yes.
And so there are lots of college football on Thursday going all the way through Monday. And, of course, you can't talk college football without the atmosphere.
No,
you can't talk the atmosphere without the bands and all the pregame stuff. But then what goes on outside the stadium is, of course, tailgating.
Oh, yes.
Patrick Walsh, you have cooked up a nice top 5 for us today.
Yeah, cooked up is definitely the right word.
Yeah.
You know, coming from Morgantown, the tailgating up there,
Yeah.
the blue lot, as we call it.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that West Virginia has a top 3 tailgate, and it's not 2 or 3.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's like a big party all in one lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think the funniest thing, it can be funny, and it also can be not funny if you look at it like a different way, is that you have the stadium. You have Milan Puskar Stadium, and then you have the blue lot on the, I believe it's the north side of the stadium.
Okay.
And it's just a big parking lot.
Right.
And then what do you have right next to it? The hospital. So,
well, I mean, it is an easy commute just in case
just
somebody
roll the stretcher out.
Yeah. In case somebody pounds too many beers and they go.
Yeah, you know,
they go
that happens in Morgantown.
They go through a table, Bill's Mafia style, and next thing you know,
burns a couch, you burn yourself on accident.
Yeah. You know, I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of genius. It's kind of genius to make sure that, you know, your paramedics, they just got to go down the street to go pick up a couple of Mountaineer fans that have lost their ways. But yes, the tailgates are always so special in and around SEC country. So we have our top 5 tailgate foods. Patrick, who's going first?
We'll let you lead it off here.
I love to. My top 5 foods are as such.
Oh my! I'm already hungry.
Woo! Smoked baby back ribs. That is number 1. I don't care where you are. You have to have somebody that is really, really good at the baby back ribs. Because to me, this is a perfect food. Let's just say you're just throwing football. You know, let's say you're outside the stadium, you're throwing football. You baby back ribs, boom. Take them just literally off the bone, boom, boom, boom. You can eat them. They're really versatile. You don't gotta sit down and make it. No, you can eat them while you're standing up. You can eat them when you're on the grill cooking other food. It's perfect. The next to me is brats. Now, I'm a fan of brats, but they have to be cooked a specific way.
Okay.
Where it still has to remain juicy on the inside, but the thing is that you have to have enough crispiness on the outside. And also, I have to have it with ketchup only. I don't like mustard. I don't hate mustard, but I don't love mustard on it.
Okay.
My third one, smaller meal. Jalapeno poppers.
Wow.
You get a little crazy on these things, you could eat 15 of them.
Oh, yes.
You can eat 15 of them, but obviously it comes with some kick. If you have somebody that makes them right, it comes with some kick. They do have some sour cream though. There's some that kind of, you know, kind of balances out the spiciness of it.
Yeah.
Jalapeno poppers. Next up, brisket sliders.
Oh man.
Brisket sliders are unbelievable, especially if you have buttered buns. I mean, there is nothing better. My last one is a dip. 7 layers. 7-layer taco dip. All right, so the 7 layers that are needed here, I wrote them down. Beans, sour cream, salsa or pico de gallo, shredded cheese, tomatoes, and green onions. Now, if you're counting at home, that's 6. Guacamole to me is optional. I'm not a huge fan of guacamole.
See, I am.
See, yeah, okay. So,
I could honestly just, you know, This is gonna sound crazy. I could just scoop it and like eat it.
Just scoop,
even without chips. I could just like go grab like a spoon.
I know a lot of people that can.
that probably sounds so bad.
And I know a lot of people that can. A lot of people who love guacamole. So my thing is, it says 7-layer dip, but if you have 6 layers, that's good too.
Yeah,
that's my top 5.
Here we go. Top 5 tailgating food for PW.
Okay.
First, you got to go hot dogs. I mean, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never go wrong with a hot dog, and then that goes the same way with the burger. You can never go wrong with a good burger.
And to me, if you're gonna do burger, you got to make it a cheeseburger. You got to put even one thin slice of cheese if it's tailgate. Now, if you're eating like at a restaurant or whatever, sometimes if you're eating like just a good burger, but a burger off the grill to me gotta have cheese.
Yeah. 3. The SEC people might not know about this one, but pepperoni rolls. Good old West Virginia coal miners. The coal miners used to eat pepperoni rolls when they were down in the mines.
Really?
for lunch.
Really? Okay.
Well, now it's like a West Virginia thing.
It's like a tailgate food?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The best pepperoni rolls are homemade.
Okay.
So you just, they're obviously rolls.
Yeah.
But you just like stuff pepperoni inside in there, and you can throw like cheese in as well. And I mean, it's the best.
Do you dip them in anything? Like, is there?
You can dip them in marinara sauce.
Okay, marinara. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Number 4, buffalo chicken dip. Again, classic.
Classic. That's a classic. That's a good one.
And number 5 is a little bit interesting here.
Yeah.
Baked beans.
You know what? I gotta agree. As far as the side items go, baked beans might be the gold medal winner, in my opinion.
I mean, you just cannot go wrong getting baked beans, like at all.
And what
just
I like,
makes like a barbecue.
It
even.
does, yeah. What I like about baked beans is if you have a plate, and let's just say that plate it isn't fully secure, and you have baked beans, and let's just say you scoop it from the top where you get a lot of the liquid in the baked beans, and let's say you have a burger sitting there or a hot dog sitting there, and all of your your superior parts of the baked beans roll into the bread, it still makes it good.
Yes.
The burger is still good. It's almost like an extra sauce. With the baked bean, with the baked bean, I don't even know what to call it. It's like the juice, the run over or whatever that's in the baked beans, and they roll underneath the bread. I'm right there with you. I think baked beans, that's solid. That's solid right there.
I mean, I tell you, tailgating food makes me hungry.
I know.
But
I'm already hungry.
Coming up next after the break, we've got the USA Ryder Cup team to talk about, and there's 5 SEC golf athletes that are on the team that did play in the SEC. We'll talk about it more after the break.
Yep.
U.S. Ryder Cup team is officially released. Captain Keegan Bradley announced his captain's picks today. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler, J.J. Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau were the auto qualifiers. But here we have now the captain's picks.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Every year, obviously, we have great golf here in America, but we also have great golf within the Southeastern Conference, and a lot of guys that played their golf, whether it was in the SEC when they were in or afterwards. A lot of great golf in this conference.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to jump right into it here. Scotty Scheffler, I mean, this was obviously no doubt that he was going to make the team. He was the first two automatically qualify. That scoring average in 2025, 68.14. That is the best on the PGA Tour. I mean, because why not?
Absolutely.
He also is making his third Ryder Cup appearance with a 2-2-3 record. That's 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 ties. And I mean, man, what a year it has been for Scheffler. The 2 majors, the 5 wins, just truly an incredible year.
Yeah, and the world's #1 golfer right now for great reason. Next up, Justin Thomas, who played his golf at the University of Alabama. There you see his scoring average, just right over 70. This is his 4th Ryder Cup appearance, joining the years in 2018, 2020, 23, and this year, of course, he has a 7-4-2 record. The RBC Heritage winner at 17 under par. We'll see if he can light it up once again this fall.
Moving over here to Sam Burns, the LSU alum, 70.18, just above Justin Thomas's scoring average. He is making his 2nd Ryder Cup appearance with a 1-2 record, so a little bit interesting here. Sam Burns, he had that. He almost won the U.S. Open until it became a monsoon up at Oakmont, but he was the RBC Canadian runner-up.
And Russell Henley played his golf at the University of Georgia. He is lighting it up this year, Patrick.
Yes.
South of 70 scoring average this year. That is good for 4th. Also, this is Ryder Cup debut, so hoping to carry that on into the fall. The Arnold Palmer winner, you see his score 11 under par and 5 top 5 finishes. So he's been consistently good all season long. Can he carry it over? We certainly hope so in the red, white, and blue.
And wrapping it up here is fellow Georgia alum Harris English, making his 2nd Ryder Cup appearance, just over 70 on the scoring average, 1-2 record in the Ryder Cup. And he finished 2nd at the Open with -13. So, you know, talk about a guy that's playing in to the Ryder Cup.
Right.
You also have to look at Bryson DeChambeau. I know he wasn't an SEC guy, but Liv does not get counted towards your Ryder Cup for the U.S. So he had to go off of 8 starts. Obviously, winning the U.S. Open in 2024 definitely helped his chances.
Absolutely.
And a couple of top 5 finishes this year in these majors definitely got him in.
Yeah, and the Ryder Cup is always really fun. And I know it falls right in the middle of football season, but it's such a good reprieve because the way I have my setup at home is usually always 3 to 4 TVs, and you have college football games, and the middle TV is always the Ryder Cup.
Yes.
And you have football on every screen, but there you have it right there. And those are the picks that are going to the Ryder Cup this year. And that also does not include, I was just thinking about it because I totally forgot there's 2 Georgia golfers on there. That does not even include Brian Heyman, sorry, I should say, that played golf at the University of Georgia and also a phenomenal former Georgia golfer.
And might I add, Keegan Bradley, he decided not to play. That was the big storyline. And he said today, no, this has been set. I wasn't going to play. I knew I wasn't going to play months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only good football in this conference, also a lot of good golf in this conference, as well as those guys will represent Team USA in the Ryder Cup. Should be really, really fun to watch coming up a little bit later this year. That is our show for today. Southeast Sports Plus returns tomorrow. The college football season, week 1, just around the corner. We'll see you tomorrow here from 2 to 4.